It was a typical bright and bustling morning in the Loose Women studio, where the lively panel of outspoken women prepared for another episode filled with celebrity guests, hot topics, and plenty of cheeky banter that the British daytime audience had come to love over the years. Rowan Atkinson, the legendary comedian known worldwide for his iconic silent comedy as Mr. Bean and his sharp wit in Blackadder, had surprisingly agreed to appear on the show to promote his latest project, a thoughtful documentary exploring the nuances of British humor and its role in society. The invitation had come as a pleasant surprise to his team, as Rowan was notoriously private and selective about television appearances, preferring the controlled environment of scripted performances over the unpredictable nature of live chat shows. As he stepped onto the set that day, dressed in his signature smart yet understated suit with a subtle tie that reflected his classic English gentleman style, the audience erupted in warm applause, many recalling fond memories of his hilarious antics that had brightened their lives for decades. Denise Welch, one of the longest-serving and most forthright panelists, sat at the center of the desk with her usual confident posture, her colorful outfit and bold makeup signaling her readiness for any debate that might arise. She had built a reputation for not shying away from tough conversations, often drawing from her own experiences in acting, reality television, and personal struggles that she openly shared with viewers. The other panelists, including familiar faces like Nadia Sawalha and Jane Moore, exchanged pleasant smiles as the cameras rolled and the host introduced Rowan with glowing praise for his contributions to comedy. Little did anyone anticipate that this seemingly lighthearted segment would spiral into one of the most talked-about clashes in the show's history, a moment that would ignite heated discussions across social media and beyond about respect, free speech, and the boundaries of celebrity interviews. Rowan began by sharing amusing anecdotes from his early career, describing how he developed his physical comedy style through meticulous observation of human behavior, and the audience chuckled along as he demonstrated a quick, silent gesture reminiscent of Mr. Bean that had everyone in stitches. Denise nodded politely at first, but as the conversations shifted toward the current state of comedy in Britain, her expression subtly changed, hinting at the brewing tension that would soon erupt in dramatic fashion. The discussion took a serious turn when Rowan, in his characteristically thoughtful and measured tone, expressed concerns about the evolving landscape of comedy, mentioning how certain topics once ripe for satire were now increasingly off-limits due to heightened sensitivities in modern society. He spoke eloquently about the importance of free expression in art, drawing parallels to historical comedians who had pushed boundaries to highlight absurdities in politics and culture, and emphasized that laughter often served as a vital tool for coping with life's complexities without causing real harm. The panel listened intently at the outset, with some nodding in agreement, but Denise Welch leaned forward, her eyes narrowing slightly as she interjected with a pointed question about whether comedians like him bore any responsibility when their jokes offended marginalized groups. Rowan responded calmly, clarifying that he advocated for thoughtful humor rather than gratuitous offense, but maintained that policing comedy too rigidly could stifle creativity and lead to a more sanitized form of entertainment that lacked depth. This exchange seemed civil enough initially, with the studio lights casting a warm glow over the panel as the audience murmured in engagement, but the atmosphere grew thicker when Denise pressed further, citing recent controversies in the comedy world and suggesting that figures like Rowan sometimes hid behind the guise of artistic freedom to avoid accountability. He countered by referencing his own body of work, which had always aimed to unite people through universal human follies rather than divide them, and politely disagreed with the notion that all satire required heavy disclaimers. The other panelists attempted to steer the conversation back to lighter territory by asking about his upcoming projects, but Denise was not deterred, her voice rising slightly as she accused him of downplaying the impact of certain comedic tropes on societal progress. Rowan's face remained composed, though a faint flush of frustration began to show, as he explained that comedy had thrived for centuries precisely because it challenged norms without descending into personal attacks. Viewers at home watching the live broadcast could sense the shift, with social media already buzzing with early comments praising Rowan's poise while others supported Denise's bold questioning style that had made her a staple of the show. The clash was building momentum, rooted in fundamentally different views on where the line between humor and sensitivity should be drawn in today's cultural climate. As the segment progressed, Denise Welch zeroed in on specific examples from Rowan's past roles, questioning whether some of his more exaggerated character portrayals might inadvertently reinforce stereotypes, a topic she framed as important for ongoing conversations about representation in British entertainment. Rowan, ever the professional, defended his creations by highlighting how Mr. Bean, for instance, was designed as a universal everyman whose mishaps transcended any particular group, bringing joy to audiences of all ages and backgrounds across the globe without targeting anyone maliciously. He spoke with quiet passion about the joy of physical comedy that required no words, allowing people from different cultures to connect through shared laughter at life's little absurdities. Yet Denise countered sharply, suggesting that in the current era, even seemingly harmless antics needed re-evaluation to ensure they did not exclude or mock vulnerable communities, and she referenced broader debates happening in the industry about updating classic content for modern sensibilities. The tension escalated noticeably when Rowan pointed out that excessive self-censorship could rob society of valuable cultural commentary, using historical examples of comedians who had faced backlash yet ultimately contributed to positive social change through their boldness. Denise's response grew more animated, her hands gesturing emphatically as she accused him of being out of touch with contemporary values, a remark that drew audible gasps from parts of the studio audience and prompted the other panelists to exchange uneasy glances. Rowan maintained his dignity, responding that true progress in comedy involved trusting audiences to discern context rather than imposing top-down restrictions that might limit creative freedom for everyone. The exchange had now moved beyond polite disagreement into something more confrontational, with the live broadcast capturing every nuance of their facial expressions and vocal inflections that conveyed the underlying emotions at play. Producers in the control room watched nervously, aware that while drama drove ratings, this particular clash risked crossing into uncomfortable territory for a daytime show aimed at a broad family audience. Social media platforms lit up instantaneously with divided opinions, some users hailing Rowan as a defender of artistic liberty while others applauded Denise for challenging what they saw as outdated perspectives from an older generation of entertainers. The moment highlighted deeper societal divides about humor, responsibility, and the role of public figures in shaping cultural norms. The heated exchange reached its peak when Denise Welch made a personal jab, implying that Rowan's reluctance to adapt his style reflected a broader resistance among certain celebrities to evolve with societal changes, a comment that struck a nerve given his long and respected career built on innovation within comedy traditions. Rowan, who had remained remarkably calm throughout, finally raised his voice slightly in defense, stating firmly that he had always evolved his work thoughtfully and that labeling him as resistant was both unfair and dismissive of his contributions over decades. He elaborated on how comedy's strength lay in its ability to provoke thought without descending into lectures, and he expressed disappointment that the conversation had veered into what felt like an interrogation rather than a balanced discussion. The studio atmosphere grew electric, with the audience shifting uncomfortably in their seats as the panelists tried to intervene with moderating comments, but the momentum of the clash proved difficult to halt. Denise stood her ground, reiterating her points about accountability in entertainment and suggesting that public figures like Rowan had a platform that came with greater responsibility to consider diverse viewpoints. In response, Rowan articulated his belief that genuine dialogue, rather than confrontation, was the path forward, but he made it clear that he would not compromise his principles on the importance of unfettered creative expression. The cameras captured the intensity in real time, zooming in on their faces as emotions ran high, turning what was meant to be a promotional appearance into an unforgettable television moment. Viewers tuned in from across the UK and beyond felt the raw energy of the debate, with many pausing their daily routines to watch the unfolding drama that seemed straight out of a scripted drama rather than a chat show. This confrontation encapsulated larger cultural battles playing out in media, where differing generations and ideologies collided over the future direction of public discourse and artistic freedom. As the argument intensified, it became evident that neither side was willing to back down easily. setting the stage for a dramatic conclusion that would dominate headlines and online discussions for days to come. In the midst of the escalating tension, Rowan Atkinson delivered a pointed rebuttal, emphasizing that comedy had historically served as a mirror to society's flaws and that suppressing it under the banner of sensitivity could lead to a more conformist culture less capable of self-reflection. Denise Welch fired back without hesitation, accusing him of using intellectual arguments to sidestep genuine concerns raised by critics of traditional humor formats, and she referenced personal experiences from her own career where she had adapted to changing industry expectations. The other panelists attempted to defuse the situation by injecting lighter questions about Rowan's family life and hobbies, but the core disagreement had taken center stage, overshadowing any attempts at reconciliation. Rowan, visibly frustrated yet still articulate, suggested that the real issue lay in the intolerance for differing opinions rather than in the comedy itself, and he questioned whether true diversity included room for voices like his that valued nuance over outright restriction. The studio audience, initially enthusiastic, now sat in stunned silence interspersed with occasional murmurs, as the live broadcast continued to capture every word without commercial interruption. Producers faced a dilemma behind the scenes, weighing the entertainment value of the drama against the potential backlash from viewers who might find the tone too aggressive for daytime television. Denise maintained her assertive stance, arguing passionately that entertainment should uplift and include rather than risk alienating segments of the population through unchecked satire. This back and forth highlighted profound philosophical differences about the purpose of comedy in contemporary Britain, touching on themes of generational change, political correctness, and the responsibilities that come with fame. As the segment drew toward its close, the clash showed no signs of resolution, with both parties standing firm in their convictions and the atmosphere thick with unresolved energy that left everyone wondering how it would ultimately conclude. The moment transcended a simple guest interview, evolving into a microcosm of broader debates raging in society about freedom of expression versus social harmony. The confrontation culminated dramatically when Rowan Atkinson, after one final exchange where Denise Welch suggested his views bordered on outdated privilege, rose from his seat with a look of resolute disappointment etched across his face, declaring that he had come to discuss his work in good faith but found himself subjected to what felt like an ambush rather than a conversation. He calmly but firmly stated that continuing under such circumstances no longer served any constructive purpose, prompting audible reactions from the audience and shocked expressions from the panel. Denise attempted a parting remark, but the damage was done as Rowan made his way off the set, leaving behind a stunned silence that hung heavily in the studio air. The host quickly transitioned to a break, with producers scrambling to address the unexpected exit while the remaining panelists offered brief comments on the importance of open dialogue even when opinions clashed. In the aftermath, social media exploded with reactions ranging from support for Rowan's dignified departure to criticism of the show's handling of the guest, sparking widespread debates about civility in public forums and the role of daytime television in fostering meaningful discussions. Clips of the heated moments went viral almost immediately, amassing millions of views as people from all walks of life weighed in on whether the clash represented healthy debate or unnecessary confrontation. Rowan later issued a brief statement through his representatives expressing regret that the interview had not gone as anticipated but reaffirming his commitment to thoughtful comedy that brought people together. Denise, true to form, defended her questioning style in subsequent appearances, arguing that challenging guests was part of the show's appeal and essential for honest television. The incident became a talking point in entertainment circles, prompting reflections on how live shows navigate sensitive topics and the fine line between engagement and escalation. Ultimately, this episode served as a reminder of the passionate differences that exist in society regarding humor, respect, and expression, leaving a lasting impression on audiences and reinforcing the unpredictable nature of unscripted television. Years from now, it might be remembered as one of those rare moments when a beloved comedian's appearance turned into an emblem of cultural tensions playing out in real time before the public eye.